Hey guys, tonight we're stepping back into a time when life moved at a gentler rhythm, when neighbours knew each other by name, and when the world felt just a little bit smaller and somehow more connected. We're talking about the 1960s, a decade that sits in this peculiar space between the buttoned-up 50s and the wild, unravelling 70s, a time when certain things were perfectly normal, woven so deeply into everyday life that nobody questioned them, until suddenly, quietly, they disappeared. Before we dive in, I want to say thank you to the person who suggested this topic. Your ideas always lead us down the most interesting paths, and I am genuinely grateful for the time you take to share them. If you are enjoying this strange little corner of the internet where nostalgia and curiosity meet, take a second to like the video and subscribe. And hey, we are now live on Spotify, so if you would rather listen there, the link is in the description. No pressure, just an option. Now, get comfortable, really comfortable. Dim the lights if you can. Put on a fan for that soft white noise. Settle into your blanket, wiggle down deep, and let the world outside fade for a little while. Because tonight, we're exploring a decade that feels both familiar and foreign. A time when milk was delivered in glass bottles, when phones had cords and shared lines, when children played outside until the streetlights came on and nobody thought twice about it. Have you ever wondered what a Tuesday afternoon actually felt like in 1963? What did the corner drugstore smell like when you walked in? What did families talk about over dinner when there were only 3 television channels to choose from? How did it feel to grow up in a world where privacy was assumed, not negotiated? Where boredom was just part of childhood, not something to be immediately fixed with a screen? And more importantly, could you survive a single week in 1966 without the conveniences you rely on now? Without texting, without GPS, without being able to look up every passing question that crosses your mind? Well, congratulations. You've just woken up in 1965. The morning is cool and quiet. Someone down the street is mowing their lawn. The milkman has already been by. And the day is unfolding slowly, the way days used to, before everything sped up. Let us start with the earliest sound of the morning, one you would hear before your alarm clock, before your parents stirred, before the day officially began, the gentle clink of glass bottles on the front porch. The milkman is making his rounds, moving quietly through the neighbourhood in the pale pre-dawn light, delivering fresh milk in heavy glass bottles that will be returned, washed and reused. You hear him from your bedroom, that soft clinking that becomes part of the rhythm of waking up. This sound is familiar, comforting, a signal that the world is turning the way it always does. You know without looking that he is wearing his white uniform, his cap, his sturdy shoes that have walked these same streets 1,000 times before. He knows your address by heart. He knows your family drinks whole milk, 2 bottles on Tuesdays and Fridays, 3 on Saturdays when your grandmother visits. By the time you come downstairs, the bottles are already sweating on the porch, cold and slick from the dairy, their silver caps pressed tight over thick cream that has risen to the top overnight. Your mother brings them inside carefully, one in each hand, and sets them on the counter. The cream is so thick she has to shake the bottle before pouring, and even then it coats the glass like silk. The empty bottles from earlier in the week sit by the door, rinsed clean, waiting to be collected. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is thrown away. The milkman will take them back to the dairy, where they will be sterilised and filled again, sent out to another porch, another family, another morning. It is a system that works because everyone participates, because everyone understands that glass costs money and effort, and there is no reason to use something once and discard it. You do not think about this as strange or inconvenient. It is simply how milk arrives. You might be at the park, or in the woods behind the Johnson's house, or riding your bike 3 streets over to see if Tommy is home. Your mother does not call you. She cannot. There are no cell phones, no walkie-talkies, no way to reach you once you have left the yard. She simply trusts that you will come back when you're hungry, when the streetlights come on, when the day has run its course. The neighborhood is your territory. You know every shortcut, every backyard with a dog, every house where the old man yells if you cut across his lawn. You know which trees are best for climbing, which bushes hide the best forts, which drain pipes make the most satisfying echo when you shout into them. The world is smaller in some ways, but it is entirely yours. You play with whoever is around. Sometimes it is your best friend. Sometimes it is the kid from 2 streets over whose name you barely know. It doesn't matter. You organize games of kickball in the empty lot, build ramps for your bikes out of scrap wood, dig holes in the vacant field because digging holes is something to do. There are no play dates, no scheduled activities, no parents hovering at the edge of the playground. You simply show up and the day unfolds. When you get thirsty, you drink from the garden hose, that metallic, slightly warm water that tastes like rubber and summer. When you get bored, you wander somewhere else. When you scrape your knee, you wipe it on your shirt and keep playing. No one is tracking your every move, documenting your childhood with photographs, ensuring you're enriched and stimulated every moment. You're just a kid, outside, doing what kids do. The freedom is enormous. You roam farther than your parents realize, testing the boundaries of your world, learning how far you can go before the familiar streets turn strange. You explore the creek, catching tadpoles in old jars. You climb the hill at the edge of town and look back at the rooftops below, feeling like an adventurer surveying new land. You ride your bike with no hands, coasting down the long slope on Maple Street, the wind in your hair, your heart pounding with the thrill of speed and the faint possibility of falling. No one is afraid. Not really. Danger exists, of course, but it is abstract, unlikely, not something parents spend their evenings worrying about. The neighborhood watches itself. Mrs. Patterson sees you riding past and waves. Mr. Dominguez sees you climbing the oak tree and shouts, "Be careful up there." It is a loose, collective kind of supervision, everyone keeping a casual eye out, no one bearing the sole weight of responsibility. And when the streetlights finally flicker on, casting their orange glow across the sidewalks, you know it is time. You pedal home, legs tired, face dirty, knees scuffed, completely satisfied. Your mother is setting the table. Your father is washing his hands. Dinner is ready, and you are home. And the day, wild and unstructured and entirely your own, has come to its gentle end. The drugstore on Main Street is not a pharmacy in the sterile fluorescent sense you might imagine today. It is a gathering place, a soda fountain, a newsstand, and a place where the pharmacist knows your name, your grandmother's arthritis, and exactly how you like your cherry Coke. You push open the heavy glass door and a bell jingles above your head, announcing your arrival. The air inside is cool and smells like a combination of vanilla, newsprint, and something faintly medicinal that you cannot quite place. The floor is checkered tile, black and white, worn smooth in the aisles where customers have walked for decades. The ceiling is pressed tin, and the lights hang low, casting a warm glow over everything. To your left is the pharmacy counter, a tall wooden structure with rows of small drawers behind it, each one labelled in faded script. Mr. Callahan, the pharmacist, stands behind the counter in his white coat, reading glasses perched on his nose, carefully counting pills into a small amber bottle. He looks up when you enter and nods, his expression serious but kind. To your right is the soda fountain, the heart of the store, a long marble counter with chrome stools bolted to the floor. The stools spin, and you always test yours, giving it a quick turn before you sit down. Behind the counter are glass dispensers filled with syrups, a row of silver milkshake mixers, and a refrigerated case displaying pies and cakes under glass domes. You slide onto a stool, and Betty, the woman who works the fountain, comes over with a smile. "The usual?" she asks, and you nod. She already knows. Cherry Coke, extra cherry, light on the ice. She pulls a glass from under the counter, fills it with ice anyway because that is just how it is done, then pumps a long stream of cherry syrup into the bottom before adding the Coke from the fountain. The drink fizzes and bubbles, dark red at the bottom, fading to caramel at the top. She slides it across the counter with a paper straw, and you take a long sip, the sweetness sharp and perfect. Around you the drugstore hums with quiet life. Old men sit at the counter reading the newspaper, their coffee growing cold in thick ceramic mugs. A mother and her daughter browse the greeting card display, spinning the rack slowly, reading each card carefully before choosing. A teenager flips through magazines near the back, trying to decide between life and look. The drugstore sells everything. Aspirin and bandages, yes, but also toys, school supplies, cosmetics, greeting cards, paperback books, candy, cigarettes, magazines, and film. You can buy a birthday card, a bottle of aspirin, a comic book, and a bag of lemon drops all in one trip. It is a place that serves every small need, every passing whim, every forgotten errand. Mr. Callahan knows everyone who walks in. He knows your mother picks up her prescription on the first Tuesday of the month. He knows your father prefers the menthol cough drops. He knows you're saving up for a model airplane kit, and he has been holding one behind the counter for you, waiting until you bring in enough allowance money to cover it. This kind of attention is not special. It is simply how business is done. When you finish your Coke, you leave a dime on the counter. Betty scoops it up and drops it into the register with a cheerful, "See you tomorrow," and you will. Because the drugstore is not just where you buy things. It is where you go when you're bored, when you have a few minutes to kill, when you want to feel like part of the neighborhood. You walk past it every time you enter the bowling alley or the diner. A tall metal box with colourful buttons and a coin slot standing unguarded in the corner. It is a cigarette vending machine, and in 1965, anyone with enough quarters can walk up and buy a pack without a single question asked. The machine is brightly lit from within, each brand displayed behind a clear panel, the packaging glossy and inviting. Marlboro, Lucky Strike, Winston, Salem, Pall Mall. You recognise the names from commercials, from billboards, from the packs your parents leave on the kitchen table. The buttons are large and satisfying to press, each one corresponding to a specific brand. You do not smoke, not yet, but you know how the machine works. Everyone does. Sometimes your father sends you to buy him a pack. He hands you 2 quarters and tells you which button to push. You walk to the machine, insert the coins, press the button, and listen to the mechanical whirring as the pack slides down the chute and lands in the retrieval slot with a soft thunk. You pull it out, check that it is the right brand, and bring it back to your father. No one stops you. No one questions why a child is purchasing cigarettes. It is an errand, like picking up milk or mailing a letter. The machines are everywhere. In restaurants, in hotel lobbies, in the waiting room at the bus station, in the hallway, outside the restroom at the movie theatre. They are as common as payphones, as unremarkable as vending machines that sell candy or soda. Smoking is woven so deeply into the culture that the idea of restricting access feels unnecessary, even absurd. Everyone smokes. Doctors smoke. Teachers smoke. Pregnant women smoke. It is not a vice. It is just a habit. You watch adults use the machines with a kind of casual confidence, sliding in their coins, pressing the button, pulling out the pack and tucking it into their pocket without breaking stride. It is a quick transaction, efficient and unremarkable. No cashier, no ID check, no judgment, Just a machine, some coins, and a pack of cigarettes. Even the design of the machine feels friendly, almost cheerful. The bright colours, the illuminated display, the satisfying mechanical sounds. It does not look dangerous. It looks modern, convenient, like a small piece of the future standing in the corner of the bowling alley. And in a way, it is. Vending machines represent progress, automation, the idea that you can buy what you need without waiting for a person to help you. You do not think about the health risks. No one does. Not really. There are warnings, yes, quiet murmurs about lung problems, but they are abstract, distant, not something that applies to you or anyone you know. Your grandfather smokes 2 packs a day and seems fine. Your teacher smokes between classes and never misses a day of work. The Surgeon General has issued reports, but they feel like suggestions, not commands, and life goes on as it always has. The machine stands there, humming softly, waiting for the next customer. It will be years before these machines disappear, years before smoking is banned in restaurants and airports, years before cigarettes are hidden behind counters and locked away from easy access. But right now, in 1965, the vending machine is just part of the landscape, as ordinary as a mailbox, as unremarkable as a streetlight. You walk past it without thinking twice, the colourful buttons glowing softly, the coins clinking inside, the packs waiting in their neat rows. The television set is large, heavy, and occupies a place of honour in the living room. It has 3 channels, maybe 4 if the weather is cooperating, and every evening your family gathers around it to watch whatever happens to be on, because choosing is not really an option. The set itself is a piece of furniture, a wooden cabinet with a small screen embedded in the front, dials on the side, and a pair of metal antennas jutting from the top like antlers. Adjusting those antennas is an art form. You twist them, bend them, extend them, trying to find the angle that pulls in the signal clearly. Sometimes it works, sometimes the picture dissolves into static and snow, and you have to start over. There is no remote control. If you want to change the channel, you walk across the room and turn the dial, a solid, satisfying click as it moves from one number to the next. The channels are not numbered consecutively. You have 2, 4, and 7, and the spaces in between are just empty static, white noise that roars out of the speaker until you move the dial again. Programming is limited. In the morning, there might be a local news show or a children's program. In the afternoon, soap operas and game shows. In the evening, the networks air their primetime lineup, sitcoms and westerns and variety shows, all of it carefully scheduled, none of it available at any other time. If you miss an episode, you miss it. There are no recordings, no reruns until summer. No way to watch something again unless the network decides to air it. Your family develops a routine around the television. You eat dinner at 6 so you can finish in time for the evening shows. Your father sits in his chair, your mother on the sofa, you and your siblings on the floor, all of you facing the screen. The room is dim, the only light coming from the television itself flickering and bluish, casting shadows on the walls. You do not choose what to watch based on preference. You choose based on what is available. If a western is on, you watch the western. If a comedy is on, you watch the comedy. There is no flipping through channels, no endless scrolling, no debate about what everyone wants to see. The television decides for you, and you accept it, because that is simply how television works. When programming ends for the night, the screen does not go dark. Instead, it displays the test pattern, a geometric image of circles and lines, accompanied by a high-pitched tone that hums through the living room. This is the signal that the broadcast day is over, that it is time to turn off the set and go to bed. Your father stands, crosses the room, and clicks the dial to off. The picture shrinks to a single white dot in the centre of the screen, glowing for a moment before disappearing entirely. The television is not a constant presence. It is not always on, filling the house with noise and light. It is a destination, something you turn on intentionally, for a specific purpose, and then turn off again when you are finished. The silence afterward feels natural, necessary, a return to the normal rhythm of the household. You do not feel deprived by the lack of options. You do not wish for more channels, more control, more choices. The television is a window into the world, and the fact that the window is small makes what you see through it feel more precious, more important, more worth paying attention to. You scrape your knee on the sidewalk and your mother does not rush you to urgent care. She doesn't call the paediatrician. She does not take a photo for documentation. She simply walks you inside, runs cool water over the wound, dabs it with iodine that stings like fury, and wraps it in gauze. The bathroom becomes a makeshift clinic. Your mother pulls out the small metal first aid kit from under the sink, the one with the red cross painted on the lid. Inside is everything she needs: adhesive bandages, gauze pads, medical tape, a brown bottle of iodine, a tube of antibiotic ointment, and a pair of small scissors. She works quickly, efficiently, with the practiced calm of someone who has done this many times before. The iodine is the worst part. It comes out of the bottle dark orange, almost brown, and when she dabs it onto your knee with a cotton ball, the sting is immediate and shocking. You suck in your breath, your eyes watering, but you do not cry. Crying over iodine is for babies, and you're not a baby anymore. Your mother blows gently on the wound, and the coolness helps just a little. She wraps your knee in gauze, winding it around carefully, tucking the end under itself so it stays in place. There, she says, patting your leg. You will live, and you will. You've survived worse. The scrape will scab over in a few days, and you will pick at it absent-mindedly until your mother scolds you, and eventually it will heal, leaving a faint scar that you will carry for years, a small mark that reminds you of the summer you learned to ride your bike without training wheels. This is how injuries are handled. At home, by your mother, with supplies from the drugstore and knowledge passed down from her own mother. The threshold for seeking professional help is high. You go to the doctor for broken bones, for stitches, for fevers that will not break. Everything else is handled here, in the bathroom, with iodine and gauze and a mother's steady hands. There is no anxiety about infection, no worry that you're doing it wrong, no second guessing whether the wound needs medical attention. Your mother trusts her judgment, and you trust her. She has raised 4 children, and all of them have survived scraped knees, split lips, bruised shins, and countless other minor injuries. She knows what needs a doctor and what does not. The first aid kit is always stocked, always ready. Your mother checks it periodically, replacing bandages that have been used, refilling the iodine, making sure the scissors are sharp. It is part of her responsibility, part of the invisible work of keeping a household running. No one thanks her for it. No one notices until the kit is needed, and then it is there, exactly where it's supposed to be. You hop off the bathroom counter, testing your knee. It bends fine. It barely hurts now that the iodine has dried. Your mother closes the first aid kit and slides it back under the sink. "Go play," she says. "Just try not to fall again." You nod, but you both know you will. Falling is part of childhood, as inevitable as scraped knees and iodine that stings. And when it happens, your mother will be there, ready with gauze and calm hands, ready to patch you up and send you back outside. Before the sun is fully up, a boy on a bicycle is already moving through your neighbourhood, a canvas bag slung over his shoulder, heavy with rolled newspapers. He knows every house on his route, every driveway, every porch where the paper needs to land just right. His name is Danny, or Michael, or some other boy from a few streets over, someone you recognise but do not really know. He is 12, maybe 13, old enough to have a paper route, which is a real job with real responsibilities. He wakes up at 5 in the morning, 6 days a week, rain or shine, to make sure your newspaper arrives before breakfast. The papers are delivered to him in a bundle, dropped off at the corner by a truck in the dark hours before dawn. He cuts the twine with a pocket knife, counts the papers to make sure he has enough, and loads them into his bag. Each paper is thick, heavy with news and advertisements, and the bag weighs more with each one he adds. By the time it is full, the strap digs into his shoulder and his bicycle lists slightly, to one side from the weight. He has memorized the route. 37 houses, each one expecting their paper in a specific spot. Mrs. Patterson wants hers on the porch, tucked between the screen door and the frame so it does not blow away. Mr. Dominguez wants his on the front step, folded in half. The Hendersons want theirs in the mailbox, even though that is technically against the rules. Danny knows all of this, and he delivers accordingly, because a good paper boy learns his customers. The ride is quiet, meditative almost. The streets are empty at this hour, the house is dark. The only sound the soft whir of his bicycle tyres on the pavement. He likes this time of day, the way the world feels like it belongs to him alone. He rides no-handed sometimes, steering with his knees, using both hands to roll a newspaper tight before throwing it. The throw is an art. A good paper boy can land a paper on a porch from the street without slowing down. Danny has practiced this for months and now he is good at it, better than most. He barely looks, just reaches into his bag, grabs a paper, and flicks his wrist, sending it spinning through the air to land with a satisfying thwop on the doormat. Most of the time he gets it right. Sometimes he misses, and the paper lands in the bushes, and he has to get off his bike and retrieve it, muttering under his breath. He does this 6 days a week, 52 weeks a year, unless he is sick or out of town, and then he has to find someone to cover for him. The route is his responsibility, his job, and if the papers do not get delivered, people complain, and his boss hears about it, and Danny hears about it from his boss, so he does not miss days. He wakes up, he delivers the papers, and then he goes home, eats breakfast, and goes to school. At the end of the month, he goes door to door collecting payment. Each customer owes $1.50, and most people pay in cash, fishing coins and bills out of jars and wallets, counting it out carefully. Some people tip, some people do not. Some people make him wait on the porch while they go inside to find their checkbook. Danny keeps track of who has paid and who has not in a little notebook, and at the end of the week he turns the money into his boss, keeping his cut for himself. The money's not much, but it is his. He spends it on comic books, on candy, on saving up for a new bicycle that does not list to the side. His parents are proud of him. He's learning responsibility, they say, learning the value of work, and he is. He is learning that jobs are not always fun, that some mornings are colder than others, that people do not always appreciate what you do. But he is also learning that he can do hard things, that he can be counted on, that the papers will get delivered because he is the one delivering them. You walk into the grocery store with a purse full of cash or a checkbook tucked inside, because credit cards exist but are not common, not trusted, not something regular people carry for everyday purchases. Money is physical, tangible, something you count out carefully at the register. Your mother does her shopping once a week, on Friday afternoons, filling a cart with everything the family will need until the next trip. She moves through the aisles with a list written on the back of an envelope, checking off items as she goes. Milk, bread, eggs, ground beef, canned vegetables, laundry detergent. The list is practical, efficient, no impulse purchases, no wandering. At the register, the cashier rings up each item on a mechanical cash register, the kind with keys that punch down and a bell that dings when the total appears in the little window at the top. Your mother watches the numbers carefully, keeping a running tally in her head, making sure the total matches what she expected. When the cashier announces the amount, your mother opens her wallet and counts out bills, crisp ones from the bank, worn ones from the change jar at home. If the total is high, if it is more than she has in cash, she writes a check. She pulls out her checkbook, clicks her pen, and writes carefully in neat script the date, the name of the store, the amount in numbers and words, her signature at the bottom. She tears the check along the perforated edge and hands it to the cashier, who examines it, compares the signature to the name on the check and files it in the register. No one questions this. No one asks for identification. Your mother is known here, a regular, customer, and her checks are good. The store trusts her, and she trusts the store, and the transaction is completed with nothing more than paper and ink. Credit cards are rare. Some department stores issue their own cards, but they are used for large purchases, for furniture and appliances, not for groceries and everyday needs. The idea of charging a gallon of milk or a loaf of bread feels strange, unnecessarily complicated. Cash and checks work fine. They have always worked fine. Your mother budgets carefully. She knows how much money is in her purse, how much is in the checking account, how much needs to last until your father's next paycheck. There are no overdraft protections, no credit lines to fall back on. If she does not have the money, she does not buy the item. It is that simple. You watch her count change at the register, sliding pennies and nickels and dimes across the counter, exact payment. No need for the cashier to make change. She is good at this, at managing money, at stretching a dollar, at making sure the family has what it needs without spending more than she has. The cash feels real in a way that numbers on a screen never will. You can see it, touch it, count it. You know exactly how much you have, how much you're spending, how much is left. There is no ambiguity, no swiping a card and hoping it goes through. Money is concrete, and so is the limit of what you can afford. Communication takes time. If you want to reach someone far away, you sit down with a pen and paper and you write. You fold the letter carefully, slide it into an envelope, lick the stamp, and drop it in the mailbox, knowing it will be days, maybe a week before your words arrive. Your grandmother lives 3 states away, too far to visit except on holidays, and so you write to her. Your mother reminds you every few weeks, prompting you to sit at the kitchen table with a piece of stationery and a pen. Dear Grandma, you begin, and then you pause, thinking about what to say. The act of writing is slow, deliberate. You cannot delete a sentence, cannot rearrange paragraphs, cannot go back and revise. Once the ink is on the paper, it stays. So you think before you write, choosing your words carefully, trying to sound cheerful and thoughtful, and like the kind of grandchild your grandmother is proud of. You write about school, about your friends, about the new bike you got for your birthday. You tell her about the tree you climbed, the book you are reading, the dog next door that barks every morning. The details are small, ordinary, but they feel important when you write them down, like you're preserving a piece of your life and sending it to her. When you finish, you read it over, checking for spelling mistakes, making sure your handwriting is legible. Then you fold it into thirds, crease the edges, and slide it into an envelope. You write your grandmother's address on the front, carefully copying it from your mother's address book, making sure every number and letter is correct. You write your return address in the upper left corner, just in case. Your mother gives you a stamp from the drawer in the kitchen, a small square with a picture of a flag or a president or a bird. You lick the back, the glue tasting faintly bitter, and press it firmly onto the envelope. Then you walk to the mailbox at the end of the street, pull down the metal door and drop the letter inside. And then you wait. It will take 3 days, maybe 4, for the letter to reach your grandmother. She will open it, read it slowly, probably more than once. She will smile at the parts that make her happy, maybe tear up at the parts that make her miss you. And then, if you are lucky, she will sit down at her own kitchen table and write back. Her letters arrive a week later, sometimes longer. You recognize her handwriting on the envelope, slanted and looping, and you tear it open eagerly. Inside is a letter written on thin, pale blue paper, filled with news from her life. She tells you about her garden, about the birds that visit her feeder, about the church social she attended last week. She asks questions about you, about school, about your family. She always ends the same way. I love you very much, and I'm so proud of you. You keep her letters in a shoebox under your bed, tied together with a ribbon. Sometimes, when you are bored or lonely, you pull them out and read them again, hearing her voice in the words, feeling connected to her even though she is far away. When you have a question, you do not pull out your phone. You walk to the bookshelf, pull down the heavy volume with the right letter, and flip through thin pages until you find what you're looking for, or something close enough. The encyclopedia set sits in the living room, a row of matching volumes lined up like soldiers, their spines stamped with gold letters. A through C, D through F, G through J, each one thick and substantial, bound in dark green or burgundy cloth that smells faintly of dust and ink and knowledge. Your parents bought the set years ago from a door-to-door salesman who convinced them it was an investment in your education, and in a way, it is. These books hold everything you might need to know, or at least everything the editors thought you might need to know when they printed them in 1958. You pull down volume M, balancing it in both hands because it is heavy, heavier than any textbook you have carried. The pages are thin, almost translucent, with tiny print that makes your eyes work to read. You're looking up Mars, the planet, for a school report, and you flip carefully through the M section, past Maple, past Marathon, past Marine Biology, until you find it. The entry is thorough, 2 full pages with a diagram of the solar system and a small photograph of Mars taken through a telescope, grainy and reddish orange. You read slowly, taking notes on a piece of lined paper, copying sentences almost word for word because you trust the encyclopedia more than you trust your own ability to summarize. The language is formal, precise, written for adults but readable if you concentrate. You learn about Mars's atmosphere, its moons, its distance from the sun. You learn that scientists believe there might be water there, frozen beneath the surface, though no one knows for sure. When you finish, you close the book carefully and slide it back into its place on the shelf, making sure the spine lines up perfectly with the others. The set must stay together, stay intact. Losing a volume would leave a gap in the family's knowledge, a letter of the alphabet suddenly inaccessible. Your parents consult the encyclopedia too. Your father looks up the history of the Civil War when a discussion at dinner turns into a friendly argument about dates and battles. Your mother looks up recipes in the volume that includes a section on cooking, though she rarely follows them exactly. Even your younger brother flips through the volume sometimes, not looking for anything in particular, just drawn to the pictures, the maps, the diagrams of how things work. The encyclopedia is authoritative. It does not offer opinions or conflicting information. It states facts, and you believe them, because they are printed in a book, published by a reputable company, written by experts whose names appear in tiny print in the front matter. There is no way to verify the information, no other source to check against, but that does not matter. The encyclopedia says it, so it must be true. Sometimes the information is outdated. The entry on space exploration does not mention the moon landing because the set was printed before it happened. The entry on medicine still lists treatments that have since been abandoned. But you do not know this. You read what is written, and you assume it is current, correct, complete. When the volumes become too worn, when the bindings crack and pages start to fall out, your parents will consider buying a new set. But for now, these books are enough. They sit on the shelf, silent and patient, waiting for the next question, the next curious child, the next search for knowledge that begins not with a search engine but with a walk across the room and the weight of a book in your hands. The family car is a station wagon, long and wide with wood panelling on the sides and a back seat that faces the wrong direction. You climb in, sit backward and watch the world recede behind you as your parents drive. No seatbelts required, no car seats, no rules about where children should sit. The station wagon is massive, a boat on wheels, with enough room inside for your entire family and then some. The front seat is a bench, wide enough for 3 people if everyone squeezes. Your parents sit up front, your father driving, your mother beside him with a map folded in her lap. The back seat is another bench where your older siblings sit, and behind that in the very back is the rear-facing seat, and that is where you sit. You love the rear-facing seat. It feels like your own private space, separated from the rest of the car by the tall back of the middle seat. You can stretch out, lean against the window, watch the road disappear behind you as the car moves forward. Other cars follow you, their headlights growing smaller as your father accelerates. You wave at the drivers, and sometimes they wave back, amused by the child grinning at them from the back of a station wagon. The cargo area is large enough to hold groceries, suitcases, sports equipment, whatever your family needs to transport. When you take road trips, your mother packs it full, stacking bags and coolers and pillows, and you burrow into the space like a nest, surrounded by soft things and the hum of the engine. There are no seat belts in the rear-facing seat. There are seat belts in the front, thin lap belts that your parents sometimes use, sometimes do not, but in the back, there is nothing. You sit freely, moving around as the car turns, bracing yourself with your hands when your father brakes suddenly. It feels natural, unrestricted, the way riding in a car is supposed to feel. On long trips, you fall asleep back there, stretched out on the seat, your head resting on a pillow, your mother tucked behind you. You wake up when the car stops, disoriented, unsure where you are until your father opens the back hatch and the light floods in. The station wagon is practical in a way that modern cars are not. It hauls everything your family needs, seats everyone comfortably, and never breaks down, or at least it has not yet. Your father washes it every Saturday, hosing off the dust and dirt, wiping down the wood panelling until it gleams. He checks the oil, the tyre pressure, the windshield wiper fluid, maintaining it with the same steady care he applies to everything else. You do not think about safety. No one does. The idea that a car crash could be catastrophic is abstract, unlikely, not something that occupies your thoughts. You've heard of accidents, of course, but they happen to other people, not to your family. Your father is a good driver, careful and steady, and that feels like enough. When you ride in the rear-facing seat, you feel special, chosen, like you've been given the best spot in the car. You watch the world fall away behind you, the roads you've already travelled, the places you have been, and you feel a strange kind of freedom, moving forward while looking back. Milk comes in glass, soda comes in glass. Even the ketchup is in a glass bottle that requires vigorous shaking and patient tapping. Everything is heavier, breakable, returnable, and somehow more precious because of it. The glass bottles sit on the kitchen counter, sweating in the afternoon heat, their labels slightly damp and peeling at the edges. Your mother handles them carefully, one hand supporting the bottom, the other gripping the neck, because a dropped bottle is not just a mess. It is a loss. Shards of glass scattered across the linoleum. Whatever was inside now soaking into the floor. The bottle itself unreturnable, and therefore wasted. The milk bottles are the heaviest, thick glass that feels substantial in your hands. The cream rises to the top overnight, forming a rich layer that your mother shakes back into the milk before pouring. When the bottle is empty, she rinses it out and sets it by the back door, ready for the milkman to collect. He will take it back to the dairy, where it will be sterilised and filled again, sent out to another house, used again and again until the glass finally chips or cracks and must be retired. Soda comes in small glass bottles, slender and elegant with logos embossed into the glass itself. Coca-Cola, Pepsi, 7-Up, each one cold from the refrigerator, condensation beading on the outside. You twist off the cap with a bottle opener, and the soda hisses and fizzes, bubbles rising to the top. You drink it slowly, savouring it, because soda's a treat, not an everyday thing, and when the bottle is empty, you return it to the store for the deposit. The deposit is small, 2 cents, maybe 3, but it adds up. You collect empty bottles from around the neighbourhood, carrying them in a cardboard box to the grocery store, where the clerk counts them and hands you coins in return. It is a system that works because everyone participates, because everyone understands that glass costs money and should not be wasted. Ketchup bottles are an exercise in patience. The ketchup is thick, reluctant to leave the bottle, and you have to shake it vigorously, turn it upside down, smack the bottom with the heel of your hand. Sometimes it all comes out at once, a great glob of red landing on your plate with a wet plop. Your father has a technique, tapping the 57 embossed on the neck of the bottle, claiming it is the secret to perfect ketchup flow. Whether it works or not is debatable, but he does it every time, and so you do too. Glass is everywhere in your house. Drinking glasses, mason jars for leftovers, jam jars with handwritten labels, baby food jars repurposed to hold nails and screws in the garage. Your mother saves every jar, washes them carefully, and stores them in the cupboard. Throwing away a perfectly good jar would be wasteful, unthinkable, and besides, you never know when you might need one. When a bottle breaks, it is an event. Your mother sweeps up the glass carefully, checking the floor multiple times to make sure she's gotten every shard. No one walks barefoot for the rest of the day, just in case. The loss of the bottle is more significant than the loss of what was inside. Bottles are valuable, returnable, part of a system that only works if they remain intact. You learn to be careful with glass, to set bottles down gently, to hold them with both hands, to never run while carrying one. It is a lesson taught through repetition, through watching your parents, through the occasional accident that leaves everyone shaking their heads and sweeping up the mess. And despite the fragility, despite the weight and the risk, the glass bottles feel right. They feel like the way things should be, substantial and real, something you can hold and return and use again. Plastic, when it eventually arrives, will feel cheap by comparison, disposable, forgettable. But glass has a presence. It demands respect, and in 1965 that is exactly what it gets. Your mother pulls a silver tray from the oven, steam rising from the compartments that hold Salisbury steak, mashed potatoes, peas, and a small square of cobbler. This is dinner, and it is modern, convenient, and eaten on a tray in front of the television. The TV dinner is a marvel of 1960s technology, a complete meal sealed in aluminum foil, frozen solid, ready to heat and eat with no preparation beyond turning on the oven. Your mother does not cook tonight. She does not peel potatoes or brown meat, or stand over the stove stirring. She simply preheats the oven to 350 degrees, slides the trays onto the rack, and sets the timer for 25 minutes. While the dinners heat, she sets up the TV trays in the living room, unfolding the metal legs and positioning them in front of the sofa. These trays are designed for exactly this purpose, eating while watching television, a modern convenience that feels almost futuristic. They are small, just big enough for a plate and a glass, with a laminated top that wipes clean. When the timer dings, your mother pulls the trays from the oven, using thick pot holders to protect her hands from the hot aluminum. She peels back the foil carefully, releasing a cloud of steam that smells like gravy and processed vegetables and something vaguely metallic. The compartments are perfectly organised, each food item in its own section, nothing touching, like a plate designed by an engineer. You carry your tray carefully to the living room, the aluminum hot against your fingertips even through the pot holder. You set it on the TV tray and let it cool for a moment, blowing on the steam, waiting until you can touch the edges without burning yourself. The Salisbury steak is oval-shaped, covered in brown gravy that has pooled in the bottom of the compartment. It tastes salty, slightly rubbery, but not bad. The mashed potatoes are smooth and uniform, clearly not made from actual potatoes but from some kind of powder or flake, mixed with water and butter and reconstituted into something that resembles the real thing. The peas are small, soft, overcooked, but edible. And the cobbler tucked into its own little square is the best part, sweet and warm, with a crumbly topping that melts on your tongue. Your family eats in silence, or near silence, all of you focused on the television. Tonight, it is a western. Cowboys and horses, and a plot you are not really following because you are more interested in the cobbler than in the story. Your father finishes first, scraping the last of the gravy from the compartment with his fork. Your mother eats slowly, methodically, working through each section in order. When you're finished, you fold the aluminum tray in half, compressing it until it is flat, and carry it to the kitchen trash. The tray is disposable, single-use, designed to be thrown away, and this feels both wasteful and wonderful at the same time. No dishes to wash, no pots to scrub, just a quick wipe of the TV tray and you are done. TV dinners are not an every-night occurrence. They are for busy nights, for nights when your mother is tired, for nights when your father is working late, and dinner needs to be quick and easy. But when they do appear, they feel special, a small taste of the future, a glimpse of what life might be like when everything's convenient and modern and wrapped in aluminum foil. You hear it before you see it, that familiar chiming melody that floats through the neighbourhood on warm afternoons. The ice cream truck is coming, and if you're lucky, if you have been good, if your mother has spare change, you will run outside with a dime and come back with something cold and sweet. The music is tinny and repetitive, the same tune looping over and over, piped through a speaker mounted on the roof of the truck. It is loud enough to hear from blocks away, a signal that cuts through the sounds of summer, through the lawnmowers and the barking dogs and the children playing in the street. When you hear it, you stop whatever you're doing and listen, tracking the sound, trying to determine how close it is, whether you have time to find your mother and ask for money. The truck itself is white, boxy, with cartoon characters painted on the sides and a freezer built into the back. The driver is always the same man, middle-aged and patient, wearing a white shirt and a coin changer on his belt. He drives slowly, crawling through the neighbourhood at 5 miles an hour, stopping whenever a child flags him down. You run inside, breathless, and find your mother in the kitchen. The ice cream truck is coming, you say, and she sighs, not annoyed but resigned, and reaches for her purse. She pulls out a dime, maybe a quarter if you're very lucky, and hands it to you. "Do not lose it," she says, and you clutch the coin tightly in your fist as you run back outside. The truck has stopped at the corner, and already a small crowd of children has gathered, forming a line, bouncing on their toes with anticipation. You join the line, waiting your turn, studying the menu posted on the side of the truck. Push-ups, drumsticks, fudgesicles, creamsicles, ice cream sandwiches, all of them illustrated in bright, cheerful colours. When it is your turn, you step up to the window and hand over your dime. The driver reaches into the freezer and pulls out a popsicle, orange and cold, wrapped in paper. He hands it to you, and you tear the wrapper off immediately, too eager to wait. The popsicle is already starting to melt, the ice crystals turning soft and sticky in the heat, and you lick it quickly, trying to catch the drips before they run down your hand. You sit on the curb with the other kids, all of you eating your ice cream in the sun, your tongue stained orange or red or purple. No one talks much. You're all focused on the cold sweetness, the brief relief from the heat, the simple pleasure of a treat on a summer afternoon. The truck stays for 10 minutes, maybe 15, until the last child has been served and the driver climbs back behind the wheel. The music starts up again, and the truck rolls forward, moving on to the next street, the next neighbourhood, the melody fading slowly until it is gone. You finish your popsicle and throw the stick in the grass, your fingers sticky, your mouth tinged with artificial flavouring. It is a small moment, insignificant in the grand scheme of things, but it is also perfect. A snapshot of childhood in the 1960s, when ice cream trucks made daily rounds and a dime could buy a few minutes of pure, uncomplicated joy. Smoke is everywhere. In restaurants, in waiting rooms, on airplanes, in the grocery store, in your living room. Your father smokes, your teacher smokes. The doctor smokes while giving your mother advice about your allergies. It is just part of the air you breathe. You wake up to the smell of cigarette smoke drifting up the stairs. Your father is already awake, sitting at the kitchen table with his coffee and his cigarette. The ashtray beside him filling with grey ash and stubbed-out butts. He takes a long drag, the ember glowing orange in the dim morning light, and exhales slowly, the smoke curling up toward the ceiling. No one thinks this is strange. No one suggests he smoke outside. The house is his house, and if he wants to smoke, he smokes. Your mother does not complain, even though she does not smoke herself. She simply opens a window when the air gets too thick, letting in a breeze that does little to clear the haze. At school, your teacher keeps a pack of cigarettes in her desk drawer. During recess, she stands outside the building with the other teachers, all of them smoking, talking in low voices, flicking ash onto the pavement. When the bell rings, they stub out their cigarettes and come back inside, the smell of smoke clinging to their clothes, their breath. In restaurants, the hostess asks, smoking or non-smoking? But the distinction is meaningless. The smoking section is just a few tables away from the non-smoking section, and the smoke does not respect the invisible boundary. It drifts across the room, settling over everyone, whether they smoke or not. On airplanes, ashtrays are built into the armrests, little metal trays that flip open with a soft click. Your father lights up as soon as the plane takes off, leaning back in his seat, the cigarette perched between his fingers. Other passengers do the same, and soon the cabin is filled with a grey haze that hangs in the air like fog. The doctor's office has an ashtray on the receptionist's desk and another in the waiting room. When your mother takes you for a checkup, the doctor examines you with a cigarette in his hand, the smoke drifting into your face as he listens to your lungs. He tells your mother you have allergies, that you should avoid dust and pollen, and then he takes another drag, the irony lost on everyone. Even the grocery store allows smoking. You see men and women walking the aisles with cigarettes dangling from their lips, ash dropping onto the floor, no one stopping them, no one suggesting it might not be appropriate. You grow up breathing this smoke, absorbing it, assuming it is normal because everyone does it. Your clothes smell like smoke. Your hair smells like smoke. Your house smells like smoke, a permanent layer of it embedded in the curtains, the upholstery, the walls. You do not notice anymore. It is just the way things smell. There are no warnings. Not really. The Surgeon General has issued a report, yes, linking smoking to lung cancer, but it feels distant, abstract, not something that applies to your father or your teacher or your doctor. They all seem fine, healthy, unaffected. And so the smoking continues, pervasive and unremarkable, a constant presence in 1965. Laundry does not disappear into a dryer and emerge warm and private. It hangs outside on a line strung between posts in the backyard, flapping gently in the breeze for the whole neighbourhood to see. Your sheets, your father's work shirts, your mother's dresses, all of it drying in the sun. Monday is laundry day, a routine as fixed as church on Sunday or meatloaf on Wednesday. Your mother starts early, before the heat of the day sets in, loading the washing machine with the first batch of clothes. The machine is loud, agitating and spinning with a mechanical rhythm that you can hear from anywhere in the house. When the wash cycle finishes, she hauls the wet clothes outside in a wicker basket, the weight of the water making everything heavy and awkward. The clothesline stretches across the backyard, a sturdy rope strung between two wooden posts, worn smooth from years of use. She pins the clothes up one by one, using wooden clothespins from a cloth bag hanging on the line. The sheets go up first, billowing like sails in the breeze. Your mother smooths them flat, clipping them at the corners, making sure they hang evenly. Your father's shirts come next, pinned by the shoulders, arms hanging down like ghosts. Your dresses and shorts and socks, all of them arranged in a neat row, a public display of your family's laundry. The neighbours can see everything. Mrs. Patterson next door can see what size underwear your father wears. The kids across the street can see your bedsheets, your towels, your pyjamas. There is no privacy, no hiding, just the practical acceptance that laundry must dry, and the sun is free. Your mother does not mind. No one minds. This is how laundry is done, how it has always been done. The women in the neighbourhood all hang their laundry out on the same days, and the backyards become a patchwork of flapping fabric, a shared display of domestic life. You help sometimes, handing your mother clothespins from the bag, holding the basket while she reaches for the next item. The clothes smell clean, like soap and fresh water, and they dry quickly in the sun, becoming stiff and slightly rough by the time she brings them in. In the afternoon, when the laundry is dry, your mother unpins it and folds it, still warm from the sun. She presses her face into a towel and breathes deeply, and you know what she's smelling: the outdoors, the sunshine, the way fabric smells when it has been dried by the wind. There is no dryer in your house. Some families have them, the new electric or gas models advertised in magazines, but they are expensive, and your mother does not see the need. The clothesline works fine, costs nothing to operate, and gives the laundry a freshness that no machine can replicate. On rainy days, the laundry hangs inside, draped over chairs and doorways, the house humid and damp, the clothes taking hours to dry. But most days the sun shines, the breeze blows, and the laundry dries outside. A small domestic ritual shared by the entire neighbourhood. You pile into the car however you fit. 3 kids in the back, 1 in the front. Maybe a baby on someone's lap. The car has seat belts technically, but nobody uses them, and nobody thinks twice about it. The seat belts are there, tucked down between the seats, the buckles dusty and stiff from disuse. Your father might buckle his, might not, depending on his mood, but more often than not he just turns the key and starts driving, one hand on the wheel, the other resting on the window frame. In the back seat you sit shoulder to shoulder with your siblings, jostling for space, arguing over who gets the window. Your baby sister sits on your mother's lap in the front, her chubby hands pressed against the dashboard, her face close to the windshield. No one suggests this is dangerous. It is just how families travel. When the car stops suddenly, You brace yourself with your hands, grabbing the back of the front seat, catching yourself before you slide forward. It is a reflex, learned through repetition, the way you have always prevented yourself from lurching into the dashboard. On the highway, your father drives fast, maybe too fast, the speedometer creeping past 70. The car sways slightly on curves, and you slide across the vinyl seat, bumping into your brother, both of you laughing. There is a thrill to it, a sense of freedom, the wind coming through the open windows, the landscape blurring past. Car seats do not exist, not in any meaningful way. If you're very young, you sit on a booster, a small cushion that lifts you high enough to see out the window, but that is for visibility, not safety. Babies ride in bassinets or in someone's arms, their tiny bodies unprotected, vulnerable, but no one worries. Accidents happen to other people, not to you. Your parents remember when cars did not even have seat belts, when the only safety feature was the sturdy frame and the hope that you would not crash. Seat belts are a relatively new addition, optional until recently, and the habit of using them has not yet taken hold. They feel restrictive, uncomfortable, unnecessary. Your father drives carefully, and that feels like enough. Sometimes a police officer will pull someone over for speeding or running a stop sign, but never for not wearing a seatbelt. That is not a rule, not something enforceable, just a suggestion from the government that most people ignore. The vinyl seats are slippery, especially in summer when the heat makes them sticky. You slide around on curves, catching yourself, holding onto the armrest or the back of the seat. It is part of the experience of riding in a car, the movement, the jostling, the sense that you are loose and free inside this metal box hurtling down the road. When you arrive at your destination, you tumble out of the car, all of you spilling onto the sidewalk at once, laughing, pushing, running toward wherever you're going. Your mother gathers the baby, your father locks the doors, and you are off, the car already forgotten until it is time to pile back in for the ride home. The five and dime store sits on the corner, its windows crowded with toys, school supplies, cheap jewellery and things you did not know you needed until you walked in. Everything costs pennies, nickels, dimes, and you can spend an hour wandering the aisles with $1 in your pocket and leave with a bag full of treasures. The bell above the door jingles when you push it open, and the smell hits you immediately, a mixture of rubber, candy, floor wax, and something else. Something indefinable but unmistakably five and dime. The aisles are narrow and crowded, shelves stacked high with merchandise, everything from thread to dish soap to plastic toys. You wander slowly, running your fingers along the edges of the shelves, examining everything. A bin of rubber balls in bright colours, each one bouncing slightly when you press it. A display of yo-yos, some plain wood, some painted with swirls. A rack of comic books, their covers lurid and exciting, promising adventure and danger and heroes who always win in the end. Everything is cheap, genuinely cheap, priced for children with allowances and adults who need something small and immediate. A pencil cost 3 cents, a notebook cost a dime, a candy bar cost a nickel. You can buy a toy car for 15 cents, a jump rope for a quarter, a pack of jacks for 8 cents. You have $1, folded carefully in your pocket, and you move through the store with the seriousness of someone making important decisions. Do you buy the paddle ball or the small tin of watercolour paints? Do you buy the balsa wood airplane or save your money for the model car kit that costs $1.50? The store is full of other shoppers, mostly women with shopping baskets, picking up necessities, a spool of thread, a box of thumbtacks, a bottle of rubbing alcohol. But there are other kids too, moving through the aisles with the same careful deliberation, weighing their options, calculating what they can afford. The toy aisle is your favourite, crammed with cheap plastic treasures that will probably break within a week but feel valuable right now. Tiny plastic soldiers, bags of marbles, rubber snakes, spinning tops, cap guns, miniature dolls with stiff limbs and painted faces. You pick up a bag of green army men, feeling the weight of it, imagining the battles you could stage in the backyard. The candy aisle is next to the toys, a deliberate arrangement designed to tempt you. Rows of penny candy in glass jars, licorice whips and jawbreakers, and wax bottles filled with coloured syrup. You could buy a handful of candy and still have money left over, or you could skip the candy and buy something that lasts longer. At the register, an older woman with grey hair and glasses rings up your purchases on a mechanical cash register. She counts out your change carefully, placing each coin in your palm, and then slides your items into a small paper bag. You leave the store with your treasures, the bag crinkling in your hand, feeling wealthy and satisfied. The Five and Dime is more than a store. It is a place where a small amount of money feels like a fortune, where browsing is encouraged, where children are treated like customers, not nuisances. It is a place that will eventually disappear, replaced by discount chains and dollar stores that sell cheaper goods, but lack the charm, the smell, the sense of possibility that the Five and Dime offers. When you wake up with a fever, your mother does not bundle you into the car. She calls the doctor, and he comes to you, black bag in hand, climbing the stairs to your bedroom to check your throat, your temperature, your ears, all while you stay tucked under your blankets. You hear the doorbell ring downstairs, then the low murmur of voices as your mother greets the doctor and leads him up to your room. He appears in the doorway, a familiar figure, middle-aged and calm, wearing a suit and tie beneath his overcoat. He sets his black bag on the chair by your bed and opens it, revealing the instruments inside: a stethoscope, a thermometer, a tongue depressor, small bottles of medicine. "Good morning," he says, his voice gentle. "Your mother tells me you're not feeling well." You nod weakly, your head aching, your throat sore. He sits on the edge of the bed and places his hand on your forehead, a gesture that is both diagnostic and comforting. "You do feel warm," he says, pulling the thermometer from his bag. He shakes the thermometer with a practiced flick of his wrist, then slides it under your tongue. You hold still, breathing through your nose while he times it with his watch. When he pulls it out, he holds it up to the light, squinting at the mercury. 102, he says to your mother. "Nothing to worry about, but we will keep an eye on it." He listens to your chest with his stethoscope, the metal cold against your skin. "Breathe in," he says, and you do. Breathe out. He moves the stethoscope around, listening, nodding to himself. Your lungs sound clear. Good. He checks your throat, pressing your tongue down with a wooden stick and peering inside. A little red, but no spots. He feels the glands in your neck, his fingers gentle but firm, slightly swollen. "Looks like a viral infection," he says to your mother. "Rest, fluids, and this should pass in a few days." He pulls a small bottle from his bag and hands it to your mother. "Aspirin," he says. "1 tablet every 4 hours if the fever does not come down, and call me if he gets worse." Your mother nods, taking the bottle, asking a few more questions. The doctor answers patiently, reassuring her, and then he closes his bag and stands. "You rest now," he says to you, patting your leg through the blanket. "You will be back on your feet soon." Your mother walks him downstairs, and you hear the front door open and close. She returns with a glass of water and the aspirin, helping you sit up enough to swallow the tablet. Then she tucks the blankets around you and kisses your forehead. "Sleep," she says. The doctor says you will be fine, and you believe her, because the doctor came to your house, to your room, and examined you in your own bed. He did not make you get dressed, did not make you sit in a waiting room feeling miserable, did not treat you like one patient among many. He came to you, and that makes all the difference. The phone is attached to the wall by a curly cord, and when you want to make a call, you slide your finger into the dial and pull it around, one number at a time, listening to the mechanical clicking as it spins back. If the line is busy, you hear that harsh, repeating tone, and you simply hang up and try again later. The rotary dial is smooth and cool under your fingertip, each numbered hole perfectly sized for a child's finger or an adult's. You start with the first digit, hooking your finger into the hole, pulling the dial clockwise as far as it will go, then releasing it. The dial spins back with a satisfying whir, clicking off each increment until it returns to its starting position. Then you do it again and again. 7 times for a local number, 10 if you're calling long distance. The process is slow, deliberate, almost meditative. You cannot rush it. You cannot misdial and correct it instantly. If you make a mistake halfway through, you have to hang up and start over from the beginning, carefully dialing each digit in the correct order. Your mother keeps a small address book by the phone, pages filled with handwritten numbers, names, and occasional notes. Call after 6, cheaper rates, or try the second number if no answer. The book is worn, the cover soft from handling, some pages dog-eared, some numbers crossed out and rewritten when people move or change their phone service. When you call your friend's house, you dial carefully, listening to each digit click into place. The phone rings on the other end, a sound you can hear through the receiver, distant and hollow. 1 ring, 2 rings, 3. You wait, shifting your weight from foot to foot, the curly cord twisted around your finger. Sometimes someone answers. Sometimes the line just rings and rings until you give up and hang up, assuming no one is home. There are no answering machines, no voicemail, no way to leave a message. If no one answers, you simply try again later. But often, instead of ringing, you hear a different sound, a rapid, harsh beeping that fills your ear, the busy signal. It means someone else is using the phone, either making a call or receiving one, and the line is occupied. You cannot interrupt. You cannot leave a message. You can only hang up and wait, trying again in 5 minutes, in 10, in however long it takes for the line to be free. The busy signal is frustrating but accepted. It is part of how phones work, part of the reality of having a single line into each house. You learn patience. You learn persistence. You learn to time your calls for moments when the line is more likely to be available. Sometimes you sit by the phone, waiting, dialing every few minutes, hearing the busy signal over and over. Your mother might walk past and ask, "Still busy?" And you nod, frustrated, wondering what could possibly be so important that whoever is on the phone has been talking for 20 minutes. When you finally get through, when the phone rings instead of beeping, you feel a small surge of relief. Your friend answers, and you launch into the conversation you've been waiting to have, speaking quickly because you know that at any moment someone in your house might need the phone, or someone in their house might, and the call will have to end. The phone is not portable. You cannot wander away while talking. The cord keeps you tethered to the wall, to the kitchen or the hallway, wherever the phone is mounted. If you want privacy, you stretch the cord as far as it will go, around the corner into the next room, and speak quietly, hoping no one overhears. Long-distance calls are rare and expensive, reserved for important occasions or emergencies. When your mother calls her sister in another state, she watches the clock, conscious of every minute ticking by, every minute adding to the phone bill. The conversation is efficient, catching up quickly, saying what needs to be said, then saying goodbye before the cost becomes unreasonable. You grow up with this phone, this single point of connection to the world beyond your house. You learn its quirks, its limitations, its rhythm. You learn to dial carefully, to wait patiently, to accept the busy signal as part of life. And when the phone finally rings for you, when your mother calls out that it is for you, you feel a small thrill. Because in 1965, a phone call is still an event, still something special, still a voice reaching across the distance to find you. If you want spending money, you earn it. You mow lawns, rake leaves, shovel driveways, babysit the neighbour's children, or collect glass bottles to return for the deposit. Work is small, local and expected, and nobody calls it entrepreneurship. The work starts young, maybe 8 or 9, when you're old enough to push a lawnmower or hold a rake without making more mess than you clean up. You do not apply for these jobs. You knock on doors. You ask your neighbours if they need help. Most of them say yes, especially the older ones, the widows and retirees who can no longer do the heavy work themselves. Mrs. Patterson pays you 50 cents to mow her lawn. It takes an hour, maybe longer, pushing the heavy rotary mower back and forth across the grass, the blades spinning, the cut grass spraying out the side. The mower is not self-propelled. You have to push it, using your whole body, your arms straining, sweat dripping down your forehead. When you finish, the lawn is striped with neat rows, and Mrs. Patterson comes out to inspect it, nodding her approval. She hands you 2 quarters, still warm from her pocket, and thanks you. Same time next week, she asks, and you nod. In the fall, you rake leaves. Mr. Dominguez has 3 enormous oak trees in his yard, and when the leaves fall, they cover everything, thick and slippery and endless. He pays you $1 to rake them all into piles and bag them. You work for hours, your back aching, your hands blistered from the wooden handle of the rake. The bags are heavy, stuffed full, and you drag them to the curb one by one. When you finish, Mr. Dominguez inspects the yard, walks around checking for stray leaves, then nods and pays you. You did good work, he says, and you feel proud, tired, but proud. In the winter, you shovel driveways. The work is hard, cold, your fingers numb inside your gloves, your breath coming out in white clouds. You shovel the Martins' driveway, the Kowalski's driveway, the long driveway of the big house on the corner. Each one pays you $1, sometimes $1.50 if the snow is deep. You pile the snow along the edges, clearing a path wide enough for a car, and when you finish, you're exhausted, your shoulders aching, but your pockets are full of cash. Babysitting is different, easier in some ways, harder in others. You watch the neighbours' kids while they go out to dinner or to a movie. You make sure the kids do not hurt themselves, do not destroy the house, do not stay up too late. You play games with them, read them stories, put them to bed. When the parents come home, they pay you $1 for the evening, sometimes more if you stayed late. It is easy money, but it is also responsibility, and you take it seriously. Collecting bottles is the simplest work, requiring no skill, just effort. You walk through the neighbourhood looking for discarded bottles, checking trash cans, asking neighbours if they have empties. Each bottle is worth 2 cents, and if you collect enough, you can make $1 or more. You load them into a cardboard box, carry them to the grocery store and exchange them for coins. The cashier counts them, verifies the brands and hands you your money. It is not much, but it is yours. The money you earn is your money. Your parents do not take it, do not ask you to contribute to household expenses. It is yours to save or spend as you choose. You put some in a jar in your room, saving for something big, a bike or a model train set. The rest you spend on candy, on comic books, on small treasures from the 5 and dime. There is pride in earning your own money, in working for it, in knowing that the coins in your pocket are the result of your effort. It teaches you that money is not free, not given, but earned. It teaches you the value of work, of showing up, of doing a job well even when you are tired or cold, or would rather be doing something else. And it teaches you that people will pay you for work, that your labour has value, that even as a child you can contribute, can earn, can stand on your own 2 feet, at least a little. The Sears catalogue arrives in the mail, thick as a phone book, filled with everything a family could possibly need. clothes, furniture, appliances, toys, tools. You sit on the floor and flip through it slowly, circling the things you hope might appear under the Christmas tree. The catalogue is enormous, over 1,000 pages, its cover glossy and inviting, featuring a family that looks happy and wholesome and nothing like your actual family. It arrives in late summer, and your mother sets it on the coffee table where it stays for months, consulted regularly, pages turned and returned until they are soft and worn. You claim it first, dragging it to your spot on the living room floor, opening it to the toy section. The pages are full of photographs, toys arranged in neat rows, each one labelled with a description and a price. Dolls, action figures, model kits, bikes, board games, everything you could ever want and many things you did not know existed until you saw them here. You study each page carefully, considering. The electric train set that cost $29.95, too expensive, but you circle it anyway just in case. The plastic castle playset for $7, within the realm of possibility. The set of toy soldiers for $2.50, affordable, probable. You circle that one twice. The catalogue is a wish book, a book of dreams, and you approach it with the seriousness of someone planning a military campaign. You do not circle everything. That would be greedy, unrealistic. You choose carefully, narrowing your list to the things you want most, the things you would be willing to trade other things for, the things you will think about for weeks and months until Christmas finally arrives. Your siblings do the same, each of them going through the catalogue, marking their pages, circling their wishes. Your brother wants tools, a small hammer and a set of wrenches, real ones, not toys. Your sister wants a doll with hair you can brush, a little suitcase of clothes, a miniature tea set. The catalogue accommodates all of you, its pages divided into sections for every age, every interest, every budget. Your mother uses the catalogue too, though for different reasons. She flips to the furniture section, considering a new sofa, comparing prices, reading descriptions. She marks pages with slips of paper, coming back to them later, weighing options. The catalogue offers payment plans, monthly instalments, making expensive items accessible to families who cannot pay all at once. Your father consults the tool section, the appliance section, considering purchases for the house. A new lawnmower, a power drill, a washing machine to replace the one that is starting to make strange noises. He does not circle anything, but he folds down the corners of pages, a signal that he is thinking about it, that it might happen. Ordering from the catalogue is a process. Your mother fills out an order form, carefully writing the item numbers, the quantities, the sizes, double-checking everything to make sure she has it right. She writes a check, slides it into an envelope along with the order form and mails it. Then you wait. The waiting is interminable. 6 to 8 weeks for delivery, the catalogue says, and it feels like forever. You check the mail every day, hoping, but weeks pass before a package finally arrives. A large cardboard box with Sears stamped on the side. Your mother opens it carefully, pulling out the items, checking them against the order form, making sure everything is correct. Sometimes things are not correct. The wrong size, the wrong colour, something broken in shipping. Your mother repacks it, fills out a return form and sends it back, waiting another 6 weeks for the replacement. But when it is right, when the box contains exactly what you ordered, it feels like Christmas, even if it is July. You tear into the packaging, pulling out the toy you circled months ago, holding it in your hands, amazed that something you saw in a photograph is now real, tangible, yours. The Sears catalogue is more than a shopping tool. It is entertainment, a window into a world of possibility, a way to dream about the future. And every year when the new catalogue arrives, you start the process over again, sitting on the floor, flipping through pages, circling your hopes. Sunday afternoon is for driving. Not to anywhere in particular, just out through the countryside, past farms and fields, windows down, radio on, your father's hand resting on the wheel. There is no destination, no schedule, just the slow, aimless pleasure of moving through the world together. After church, after lunch, after the dishes are washed and put away, your father says, "Let us go for a drive." It is not a question. It is a Sunday tradition, as reliable as the church service itself. You pile into the car, your mother in the front, you and your siblings in the back, and your father pulls out of the driveway, turning not toward town but away from it, toward the open roads that lead out into the country. The windows are down, all of them, because it is warm and the car has no air conditioning. The wind rushes in, whipping your hair, filling the car with the smell of cut grass and wildflowers, and the faint dusty scent of the road itself. Your father drives slowly, 40 miles an hour, maybe less, one hand on the wheel, the other resting on the window frame. The radio plays softly, a ball game or big band music, or a preacher giving a sermon, the volume low enough that it blends with the wind. The road stretches ahead, 2 lanes of blacktop cutting through farmland. On either side, fields roll out in gentle waves, corn growing tall and green, cows grazing in pastures, barns weathered and leaning slightly, their red paint faded by decades of sun. Your father points out things as you pass, a hawk perched on a fence post, a tractor sitting idle in a field, a farmhouse with a porch swing visible from the road. No one is in a hurry. There is nowhere you need to be, nothing you need to do. The drive is the point, the movement, the being together, the chance to see something beyond your own neighbourhood. Your mother sits quietly, her hand resting on the seat between her and your father, occasionally commenting on a garden she admires or a house she thinks is charming. In the back seat, you and your siblings settle into a comfortable silence, watching the world slide past. Your brother counts cows, keeping a tally in his head, starting over every time you pass a cemetery, because that is the rule of the game. Your sister looks for horses, her favourite animal, squealing softly every time she spots one. You just watch, taking it all in, the endless fields, the big sky, the way the light falls across everything in long golden slants. Sometimes your father turns down a side road, following it just to see where it goes. Sometimes it leads to a small town, a cluster of houses and a general store, a church with a white steeple. Sometimes it leads to a dead end, a turnaround at the edge of a woods, and your father simply turns the car around and heads back the way you came. Occasionally you stop. Your father pulls over at a roadside stand selling fresh vegetables, and your mother buys tomatoes or sweet corn, chatting with the farmer while you wander around, stretching your legs, looking at the hand-painted signs advertising the prices. Or you stop at a park, a small one with a couple of picnic tables and a swing set, and you play for a few minutes before piling back into the car and continuing on. The drive lasts an hour, sometimes 2, sometimes longer, if the day is particularly nice and no one is ready to go home. Eventually, though, the sun starts to sink lower, the shadows lengthen, and your father turns the car back toward town, retracing the route or taking a different road, looping back in a wide circle. By the time you pull into the driveway, the day is softening into evening. You're tired in a pleasant way, lulled by the motion of the car and the warm air and the gentle sameness of the fields. Your mother gathers the vegetables she bought, and you follow her inside, the house cool and dim after the brightness outside. The Sunday drive is over, but it has done what it was meant to do, pulled your family out of the house, given you a shared experience, reminded you that the world is bigger than your street, your town, your daily routines. It is a small thing, a simple thing, but it is also a gift, this unhurried time together, this chance to just be. The day is winding down now. Dinner is over, the dishes are washed, and the house settles into a soft, comfortable quiet. Your father reads the paper. Your mother knits or watches television. You lie on the floor with a book, the lamp casting a warm circle of light. There is no urgency, no notifications, no sense that you are missing something happening somewhere else. The evening has a rhythm to it, predictable and soothing. Your father sits in his chair, the one that is his and no one else's, the cushion moulded to the shape of him after years of use. He reads the newspaper, the pages rustling softly as he turns them, occasionally reading something aloud to your mother, a headline, a story, something that caught his attention. She responds without looking up from her knitting, murmuring agreement or surprise, her needles clicking steadily. The television is on, but no one is really watching it. It provides background, a gentle murmur of voices and music, the glow of the screen adding to the lamplight. A variety show plays, singers and comedians performing for the studio audience, their laughter canned and distant. Your mother glances up occasionally, watching for a moment before returning to her knitting, the yarn growing into a scarf or a sweater or something else useful. You lie on your stomach on the living room floor, a book open in front of you, propped on your elbows. The rug is soft under you, and the lamp beside you casts just enough light to read by. The book is one you checked out from the library, an adventure story about children who discover a hidden cave or a mystery or a treasure. The kind of book that pulls you in so completely that the room around you fades away. Your siblings are nearby, your brother building something with his rector set, the metal pieces clinking softly as he fits them together. Your sister colours at the coffee table, tongue sticking out in concentration, choosing her crayons carefully, filling in the lines with the seriousness of an artist. Outside, the neighbourhood is settling too. The sounds of the day, lawn mowers, children playing, cars passing have faded, replaced by the softer sounds of evening. A dog barks far away. A screen door slams. Crickets begin their nightly chorus, a sound so constant it becomes part of the silence. No one speaks much. There is no need. The quiet is companionable, comfortable, the kind of quiet that only exists when people are at ease with each other, when there is nothing that needs to be said or done, when simply being together is enough. Your mother finishes a row of knitting and holds it up, examining it, then sets it down and stands stretching. She moves to the kitchen to make tea, the kettle whistling softly a few minutes later. She pours a cup for herself, and one for your father, who accepts it with a nod, setting aside the newspaper to let it cool. The clock on the mantel ticks steadily, marking time but not urgently, just a gentle reminder that the evening is passing, that bedtime is approaching but not yet here. You turn another page of your book, lost in the story, barely aware of the room around you. Your father folds the newspaper and sets it aside, sipping his tea, staring at nothing in particular, just resting. Your mother picks up her knitting again, the needles resuming their rhythm. The television show ends, and another begins, and no one changes the channel. This is the quiet of evening, the space between the end of the day and the beginning of the night. It is a time for winding down, for letting go of the day's demands, for existing in the present moment without thinking about tomorrow. There is no homework that cannot wait until morning, no phone calls that need to be made, no emails to check, no screens pulling you in a dozen directions. The world is small tonight, contained within these four walls, within the circle of lamplight, within the presence of your family. And it is enough. It is more than enough. Eventually your mother will tell you it is time for bed, and you will go, reluctantly, marking your place in your book, climbing the stairs to your room. But for now, you stay where you are, reading, listening to the quiet sounds of home, feeling safe and content and part of something, that does not need to be explained or justified or documented. Just a family, together, at the end of another ordinary day. You grab your bike from the garage, swing your leg over the seat, and pedal away without a second thought. No helmet, no pads, no safety gear of any kind. Just you and the bike and the open road, the wind in your hair, the freedom to go wherever your legs can take you. The bike is simple, sturdy, built to last. It has fat tyres, a wide seat, handlebars that curve up slightly, and a bell that you ring when someone is in your way. It is not fancy. There are no gears, no handbrakes, just a coaster brake that engages when you pedal backward. You have ridden this bike for years, know its quirks, the way it pulls slightly to the left, the way the chain sometimes slips if you're not careful. Your parents do not worry about helmets. Helmets are for motorcycle riders, for professionals, not for children riding bikes around the neighbourhood. The idea that you might fall and hit your head is not something anyone dwells on. You have fallen before, of course, scraped your knees, bruised your elbows, but you got back on the bike and kept riding. That is what you do. You ride with your friends, a small pack of you racing down the street, standing on the pedals to go faster, leaning into turns, shouting to each other over the wind. You ride to the park, to the store, to each other's houses, covering miles without realizing it, without anyone tracking where you are or how far you've gone. Sometimes you ride with no hands, arms spread wide like wings, balancing carefully, feeling the bike wobble slightly beneath you. It is a test of skill, of confidence, and when you manage to ride a whole block without touching the handlebars, you feel invincible, like you have mastered something important. You build ramps out of scrap wood and bricks, propping a board at an angle and riding toward it as fast as you can, launching into the air for a brief, thrilling moment before landing hard on the other side. The bike rattles, your teeth clack together, but you do not crash, and that counts as success. You and your friends take turns, each one trying to go faster, higher, braver than the last. The neighbourhood is your territory, and the bike is your vehicle for exploring it. You ride down alleys, through empty lots, along the creek where the path is narrow and muddy. You ride until your legs are tired, until the sun is low, until your mother's voice calling you home carries across the yards, and you know it is time to go back. You leave the bike in the driveway, kickstand down and head inside, your hair wild, your face flushed, your clothes dusty. Your mother glances at you, shakes her head slightly, tells you to wash up for dinner. She does not ask where you have been. She does not need to. You are on your bike, and that is answer enough. The bike represents freedom in a way that nothing else does. It takes you beyond the limits of where you can walk, gives you speed and independence, lets you cover ground quickly, explore farther, stay out longer. It is yours, and when you are riding it, you are in control, making decisions, choosing directions, going wherever you want to go. There are no rules about helmets, no lectures about safety, no forms to sign or classes to take. You learn to ride by riding, by falling and getting back up, by watching older kids and copying what they do. Your parents trust you to be careful, and you are mostly careful enough to survive, reckless enough to have fun. And at night, when you lie in bed, your legs still tingling from the day's riding, you think about where you will go tomorrow, what new routes you will take, what adventures are waiting. The bike is leaning in the garage ready, and so are you. Once or twice a summer, the entire street comes together for a block party. The road is closed. Off with sawhorses, tables are dragged out into the middle of the street, and everyone brings food to share. You play games until dark, eat too much, and fall asleep that night feeling like you are part of something bigger than your own family. The planning starts weeks in advance. Whispered conversations between mothers at the mailbox, fathers discussing it over hedges while watering their lawns. Someone volunteers to get the permit to close the street. Someone else organises the tables. Lists are made, assignments given. Who is bringing what? Who's in charge of the grill? Who is handling the games for the kids? On the day itself, the street transforms. The sawhorses go up at both ends, orange cones placed to redirect traffic. Folding tables appear from garages, set up in a long row down the centre of the pavement. Tablecloths are spread, weighted down with bowls and platters and casserole dishes. The food arrives gradually, each family contributing something, until the tables are covered with more food than anyone could possibly eat. There is fried chicken and potato salad and baked beans. There are hot dogs and hamburgers cooking on multiple grills, the smoke drifting down the street, the smell making everyone hungry. There are jello moulds in improbable colours, marshmallows suspended in lime green, pineapple chunks floating in orange. There are pies and cakes and cookies, brownies and Rice Krispie treats, and a watermelon cut into slices dripping and sweet. You fill a paper plate, piling it high, taking a little of everything, and find a spot on the curb to eat. All around you, the neighbourhood is alive in a way it never is on regular days. Adults stand in clusters, talking and laughing, drinks in hand. Children run wild, playing tag, racing up and down the closed street, shrieking with the joy of being allowed to play in a space that is usually forbidden. Someone has set up a volleyball net in the middle of the street, and a game is underway. Adults and teenagers on both sides, the ball arcing back and forth, occasionally bouncing into the food tables and causing minor chaos. No one minds. Everyone is relaxed, unhurried, happy to be outside together, with nowhere else they need to be. The games for the younger kids are organised by the older kids and a few patient mothers. Three-legged races, sack races, an egg and spoon race that leaves the pavement splattered with broken yolks. You compete in all of them, winning some, losing others, not really caring because it is the playing that matters, not the winning. As the afternoon fades into evening, someone brings out a record player, sets it on a table, and music fills the street. Big band music, rock and roll, music your parents like and music you like. Everyone dancing or swaying or just tapping their feet. Your father dances with your mother, a slow, easy two-step, and you watch them, slightly embarrassed but also pleased to see them happy. The younger children are getting tired now, some of them already in pyjamas, their parents knowing they will fall asleep before the party ends. They sit on blankets, watching the older kids play, their eyes heavy, but fighting sleep because they do not want to miss anything. When it is finally dark, someone brings out sparklers, thin wires that you hold carefully, striking them against the pavement until they catch and burst into bright, hissing sparks. You wave them in circles, writing your name in light, watching the trails fade almost as quickly as they appear. The sparklers burn down to nothing, and you drop them in a bucket of water, the sizzle and steam marking the end. People start to gather their dishes, folding up chairs, saying goodnight, thanking each other for coming. The sawhorses are moved aside, the street is swept clean of paper plates and napkins, and slowly, gradually, the neighbourhood returns to normal. But the feeling lingers, the sense of community, of belonging, of being part of something larger than yourself. You fall asleep that night full and tired and happy, knowing that next year you will do it all again. The record player sits in the living room, a piece of furniture in its own right, a wooden cabinet with speakers on either side and a turntable under a hinged lid. When you want to listen to music, you lift the lid, select a record from the shelf below, and carefully place it on the spinning turntable, lowering the needle into the groove. The hi-fi is your father's pride, a purchase he researched carefully, comparing models, reading reviews, finally bringing it home and setting it up with the seriousness of someone installing something precious. He showed you how to use it, how to handle the records, how to lower the needle without scratching the vinyl, and you have been careful ever since, treating the records with the respect they deserve. The records are stored in their sleeves, lined up on a shelf built into the bottom of the cabinet. Your parents' records mostly, albums they have collected over the years, Frank Sinatra and Nat King Cole and big band compilations. But there are a few that are yours, records you bought with your allowance or received as gifts, the Beatles and the Beach Boys, music that makes your parents shake their heads but tolerate because it is not too loud, not too wild, acceptable enough. You pull out a record, sliding it carefully from its sleeve, holding it by the edges so your fingers do not touch the grooves. The vinyl is black and shiny, the label in the centre colourful and printed with the album name and track listings. You place it on the turntable, press the button to start the motor, and watch as the record begins to spin, 33 1/3 revolutions per minute. The tone arm lifts automatically on the better models, or you lift it manually on the simpler ones, guiding it over the record and lowering it gently until the needle makes contact. There is a soft crackle, the sound of the needle finding the groove, and then the music starts, filling the room with sound that is warm and full and somehow more present than anything that comes out of a transistor radio. You sit on the floor, leaning against the sofa, listening. The music plays straight through, no pauses, no shuffling, each song in the order the artist intended. When side one finishes, the tone arm lifts and returns to its rest and the turntable stops spinning. If you want to hear more, you have to get up, flip the record over and start side two. This is the ritual of listening to music in 1965. It is active, intentional, not something that happens in the background while you do other things. You choose a record, you play it, you listen, and when it is over, you make another choice, or you turn the record off and let the silence return. Your parents listen in the evenings, after dinner, your father selecting a record while your mother settles onto the sofa with her knitting. The music is part of the evening's quiet, a soundtrack to the winding down of the day. Sometimes they talk over it, sometimes they just listen, and occasionally your father will stand and offer your mother his hand, and they will dance slow and easy in the middle of the living room while you and your siblings pretend not to watch. The records themselves are fragile, precious. They scratch easily, warp if left in the sun, attract dust and fingerprints. Your father cleans them regularly with a soft cloth, wiping them in gentle circles, holding them up to the light to check for damage. A scratched record skips, the needle jumping over the damaged groove, repeating the same second of music over and over until you lift the needle and move it forward manually. But when the records are clean, when the needle is sharp, when everything is working as it should, the sound is beautiful, richer and warmer than anything else. There is depth to it, a fullness that makes you feel like the musicians are in the room with you, playing just for you. And so you handle the records carefully, lowering the needle gently, listening attentively, because this is how music is meant to be heard, not as background noise, but as something worthy of your full attention, something you choose deliberately and experience fully. Saturday afternoon means one thing: the movie theatre. You and your friends pool your money, walk downtown, and pay a quarter to see whatever is playing. Double features, cartoons, newsreels, previews, the whole show lasts 3 or 4 hours, and you emerge blinking into the daylight, your eyes adjusting after the darkness. The theatre's an old building, grand in a faded way, with a marquee out front that lights up at night, bulbs tracing the outlines of letters spelling out the current attractions. During the day, the marquee is less impressive, just black letters on white panels, but it still draws you in, the promise of escape, adventure, stories larger than life projected onto a screen in the dark. You meet your friends on the sidewalk outside, counting your money, making sure you have enough. A quarter for admission, a nickel for candy, Maybe another nickel for popcorn if you can spare it. The ticket booth is just inside the door, a small window with a woman sitting behind it, bored, taking your quarter and tearing a ticket from a roll, handing you the stub without looking up. Inside, the lobby smells like popcorn and dust and something sweet you cannot quite identify. The carpet is worn, dark red with gold patterns, the colours faded from decades of feet shuffling over it. Posters for upcoming movies line the walls, glossy and dramatic, cowboys and monsters and superheroes promising thrills and excitement. The concession stand is off to one side, a glass case displaying candy bars and boxes of junior mints and red hots. The popcorn machine churns behind the counter, kernels popping, the smell irresistible. You buy a small box of candy, something that will last through both features if you're careful, rationing it, making it stretch. The theatre itself is enormous, rows and rows of seats sloping down toward the screen, a balcony above that is usually roped off except on busy nights. The ceiling is high, decorated with plaster mouldings and a chandelier that hangs dark and unlit. The walls are covered in heavy velvet curtains, red or burgundy, hiding the screen until the show begins. You choose seats in the middle, not too close, not too far, the best spot for watching. The seats are old, upholstered in something scratchy, the springs sagging from years of use. You settle in, candy in your lap, feet propped on the seat in front of you, waiting for the lights to dim. The show starts with previews, coming attractions, clips from movies that will arrive in the coming weeks. Then a cartoon, Bugs Bunny or Tom and Jerry, the audience laughing, the sound echoing in the big space. Then a newsreel, black and white footage of current events, the announcer's voice booming and authoritative, telling you about politics and sports and world affairs in a way that makes everything sound important and dramatic. Finally, the curtains pull back fully, and the first feature begins. The screen fills with colour and motion, the sound loud, the story pulling you in immediately. You forget about the worn seats, the sticky floor, the other kids rustling their candy wrappers. You're lost in the story, living inside it, feeling every thrill, every scare, every triumph. When the first feature ends, the lights come up briefly, and kids rush to the bathroom or the concession stand, buying more candy, more popcorn, stretching their legs before the second feature begins. You stay in your seat, rationing your candy, talking quietly with your friends about what you just saw, arguing over the best parts. The second feature is usually different from the first, a monster movie if the first was a western, a comedy if the first was an adventure. You watch them both, the hours slipping by, the outside world forgotten. This is Saturday afternoon, this darkened theatre, this escape into other worlds, other lives, other adventures. When it is finally over, when the credits roll on the second feature and the lights come up for good, you file out with everyone else, blinking in the brightness of the late afternoon sun. The world outside feels too real, too ordinary after the heightened reality of the movies. You walk home slowly, discussing the films, reenacting favourite scenes, already looking forward to next Saturday, to the next quarter, to the next double feature. Your teacher announces that the class will be paired with students from another state, and you will become pen pals, writing letters back and forth throughout the school year. A few weeks later, you receive your first letter, written by someone your age, someone you have never met, someone who lives 1,000 miles away. And suddenly the country feels both bigger and smaller at the same time. The program is meant to teach you about different parts of the country, to give you a window into a life that is not your own, to help you practice your writing and expand your perspective. Your teacher explains this seriously, handing out the letters, reminding you that you're expected to write back, that this is not optional, that someone is waiting to hear from you. You open your letter carefully, unfolding the lined paper, reading the careful handwriting. Your pen pal's name is Sarah, and she lives in Montana. She writes that she lives on a ranch, that she has 2 brothers and a dog named Scout, that she rides horses and helps her father with the cattle. Her life sounds exotic, adventurous, nothing like your life in the suburbs where the most exciting thing that happens is the ice cream truck coming by. That evening, you sit at the kitchen table and write back. You tell her about your life, your school, your family, the neighborhood where you live. You try to make it sound interesting, but it feels ordinary compared to ranches and horses and wide open spaces. You tell her about playing outside until dark, about riding your bike, about the Saturday matinees. You fold the letter carefully, address the envelope in your best handwriting and give it to your mother to mail. And then you wait. Weeks pass before Sarah's next letter arrives, and when it does, you tear it open immediately, eager to read what she's written. She answers your questions, asks new ones, tells you more about her life. She describes the landscape, the mountains in the distance, the way the sky stretches out forever, the cold winters and the quiet that settles over everything when the snow falls deep. You write back, establishing a rhythm, a correspondence that continues throughout the year. Each letter is an event, something to look forward to, a connection to a place and a person you would never have encountered otherwise. Sarah becomes real to you, not just a name on a page, but a person with a life and thoughts and experiences that are different from yours, but also, in some ways, very much the same. You learn that she watches the same television shows you do, that she listens to some of the same music, that she has to do chores and homework and deal with annoying brothers just like you do. The differences are there, the ranch, the horses, the mountains, but underneath, you're just 2 kids living your lives, navigating school and family, and the slow march toward growing up. Your teacher asks you to share what you have learned from your pen pal, and you stand in front of the class, nervous, talking about Montana, about ranch life, about Sarah. You show the class a photograph she sent, a snapshot of her standing next to a horse, smiling, her hair in braids. The class listens, and you realize that through these letters, you have become a kind of ambassador, bringing news from a distant place, making it real for your classmates. The school year ends, and you're supposed to stop writing, the program officially over, but you do not stop. You keep writing to Sarah, and she keeps writing back. Over the summer, through the next school year, the letters continue, fewer now, maybe once a month instead of once a week, but still regular, still meaningful. Years later, you will think back on those letters, on the connection you made with someone you never met, and you will be grateful for it, for the window it gave you into another life, for the way it taught you that the world is full of people who are different from you, and also, in all the important ways, exactly the same. So tonight, as you settle deeper into your blankets, take a moment to think about the people who lived these quiet, ordinary days. The people who woke up to the sound of glass bottles on the porch, who dialed phones one number at a time, who played outside until the streetlights came on and no one worried. They were not living in a museum. They were not performing nostalgia. They were simply living, moving through their days with routines and rhythms that felt normal, unremarkable, woven into the fabric of being alive. They made coffee in percolators. They wrote letters by hand. They knew their neighbours' names and the time the milkman came and which kid delivered the paper. They lived in a world that was slower, yes, but also more connected in small, tangible ways. A world where boredom was allowed, where silence was not something to fill, where a Sunday drive had no destination, and that was the entire point. And maybe, just maybe, there is something in that life worth carrying forward. Not everything, not the smoke-filled rooms or the lack of seatbelts or the things we have rightly left behind, but something. The idea that you do not always need to be reachable, that a phone call can wait, that sometimes the best thing to do on a Sunday afternoon is simply go for a drive and see where the road takes you. History is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is a screen door and a radio and someone down the street who knows your name, and that is enough. That has always been enough. So rest now. Let the weight